Okay, let's talk about the big one, your final year project report. You've spent months, maybe even a whole year, pouring everything into your research, and now it all comes down to this one document. But wait, before you can hit submit, there's that final hurdle, right? The formatting. Today, we are going to decode every single guideline for the BBS fourth year project so your amazing work gets the presentation it truly deserves. Let's dive in. So, does the idea of formatting this whole thing feel just a little bit daunting? If so, you're definitely not alone. I mean, after all that intense research, staring at a long list of rules about margins, fonts, and headings, yeah, it can feel totally overwhelming. But here's the good news. These rules, they're not there to trip you up. Seriously, think of them more like a blueprint, a guide to help you present your work in the clearest, most professional way possible. And in this explainer, we're going to walk through it all, step by step. It's way easier than you think. We've broken it all down into 5 simple sections. First, we'll get your document settings right. Then, we'll build the perfect title page. After that, we'll look at structuring the main body, mastering your headings, and finally, we'll go through a quick checklist of all the essential parts. This is your roadmap from a blinking cursor on a blank page to a perfectly polished report. Okay, first things first. Before you even type a single word of your intro, let's set up the document itself. Trust me, getting these basic settings right from the get-go is an absolute game changer. It keeps everything consistent and will save you from a massive headache later on. Here they are, the 4 non-negotiable rules for your document. And they're all there for a reason. You're going to set your margins to 2.5 centimeters all the way around. That leaves plenty of room for binding and for your supervisor's comments. Line spacing needs to be set to 1.5. It just makes everything so much easier to read. For your font, it has to be Times New Roman. That's the gold standard for academic work. And your body text size, 12 point. Just lock these 4 settings in right now, and you've got a perfect foundation to build on. All right, let's talk about your title page. You know, this is literally the first thing anyone's going to see. Your supervisor, the examiners, everyone. So making a strong first impression here is absolutely crucial. We want it clean, professional, and with all the right information right where it should be. Your title page needs these 5 key things, no more, no less. You need your full, clear project title, then submitted by, with your name. You got to get credit for your work, right? Then submitted to, with your supervisor's name. Don't forget the name of your department, and of course, the official submission date. Nailing these details sets a really professional tone for the rest of the report. And now, we get to the heart of it all, the main body of your report. A logical structure is everything here. You're not just dumping information on a page, you're taking your reader on a journey through your research, from that very first question all the way to your final brilliant conclusion. And this is the standard 5-chapter flow that will tell that story perfectly. Chapter 1 is your introduction. What's this all about? Chapter 2 is your literature review. What's already known? Chapter 3 explains your research methodology. What did you do? Chapter 4 is where you present your results and findings. What did you discover? And finally, Chapter 5 wraps it all up with a summary and conclusion. Stick to this and your research story will be crystal clear. So let's talk about navigation. How does your reader find their way through all those chapters? With headings. Think of them like signposts. Using a clear and consistent heading structure isn't just a random rule. It's what makes your report easy to read and follow. And here's the key thing to get. Not all headings are created equal. You're going to have different levels of headings, and each level has its own special formatting. This creates a visual hierarchy that shows your reader exactly how your ideas are connected. This little table breaks it all down. So your main chapter titles, like Chapter 1, Introduction, that's a heading 1. Make it 16-point font, put it in all caps, and center it on the page. Easy. Now the main sections inside that chapter, that's a heading 2. Those are 14-point font in title case, where you capitalize the first letter of the important words, and you align those to the left. And if you have any subsections under that, use a heading 3. That's 12-point font in sentence case, so only the very first letter is capitalized, and it's also aligned to the left. This system makes the whole structure of your argument pop right off the page. Okay, we're on the home stretch. This is our final section, and I want you to think of this as your ultimate content checklist. These are all the key pieces that absolutely have to show up somewhere within those 5 chapters we talked about. This is how you make sure your report is totally comprehensive. So as you're writing, just mentally tick these off. Your introduction chapter, it's got to have the background, your objectives, and the rationale for the study. The literature review, well, that's its own chapter.
Your methodology chapter has to spell out your research design, the population and sample, and how you collected your data. Super important, you also have to talk about the limitations of your study, and of course, you wrap it all up with a powerful summary and conclusion in that final chapter. These are the absolute building blocks of a solid report.
So you see, all of these rules, the margins, the fonts, the headings, they're not just about making things look pretty. They're designed to give your work structure. And when you have a clear structure, you can communicate your incredible ideas with so much more clarity and so much more impact.
Look, if you follow this guide, you've completely taken care of the how. That frees you up to focus all your brain power on the what.